In recent months, there have been many rumors about the Superman movie, rumors saying that the movie is not being well received by the people who have seen it, and that Warner has reasons to be worried. And if this is true, then Warner definitely should be worried. Since basically the future of the Detective Comics universe depends on the success of the Superman movie by James Gunn, a movie that represents a new beginning for a franchise that has had a controversial performance, to say the least. With some big successes, but also with major failures that have stayed in the minds of the public. But how accurate are these rumors and what are their sources? That's what we're going to talk about today, as we'll gather all the information surrounding these rumors from their source and credibility, and we'll present them to you in an organized way so that you are well informed. I know this would be a better job for a detective and his distressed assistant, but from what I'm told in the comments, he's been kidnapped. For this occasion, you'll have to make do with just me. Let's begin. Let's start with the first thing. What's the origin of these rumors? The first source to report that there might be problems with the new Superman movie was the outlet The Hollywood Reporter. On December 6th, an article was published about James Gunn's Superman movie. It had been shown to certain people from the studio and to a close group of people trusted by Gunn. Despite speaking with people who claimed to have seen the film, none provided specific details about its quality. But they published a comment that said the following: "We're keeping the excitement about the movie in our own fortress of solitude. But we can tell you that the movie will have a few days of additional filming in Los Angeles in the near future." Keep in mind that this report came out quite some time ago, even a couple of weeks before the first teaser for Superman was released. John Rocha and Jeff Snyder revisited this statement on the Hot Mic podcast a couple of weeks later. They said it didn't make sense for Warner to hold back comments about the movie if they were positive. That was the conclusion they reached on the podcast, but it wasn't what was said in the Hollywood Reporter. What is true is that all the rumors come from this podcast. Related to the quality of the Superman movie, how reliable is this source? Here you go. John Rocha and Jeff Snyder are two entertainment journalists who have worked with major outlets like Variety and Collider. However, they now practice their profession more independently. Roach through his YouTube channel, where he occasionally invites Snyder to talk about the latest movie news. Meanwhile, Jeff has a newsletter where he presents several exclusives that his Hollywood sources give him. Jeff Snyder has no connection to Zack Snyder despite the similar last names. However, it seems suspicious. Two industry reporters with sources close to the movie discussed the following on a September 27th podcast, though their information is sometimes inaccurate. A couple of weeks after the release of the first Superman teaser, Snyder said on the podcast, "The vibe around the Superman movie isn't good. I'm not trying to trash the movie. I've heard bad things. I'm hearing that you should be worried." Jeff Snyder hasn't seen the movie, but he mentioned on this podcast that he went to dinner with a very reliable source who has already seen it, and this is what he was told. He also states that he knows and trusts his source, who has no reason to lie. He would love to have better things to say about Superman, but his job is to report, and that's what he heard. During the broadcast, he also received a message from someone whose name he didn't reveal, but who has editing skills and might know people in the editing world. Those were his exact words. Who told him, "Are your Superman reports accurate?" There are many reasons to be nervous. John Rocha in the same podcast also claimed to have a source who saw the movie but told him different information. According to his source, Superman would have the tone of the first Captain America and Mummy movies. The upcoming Superman movie will likely be similar to the first Captain America film rather than the Mummy series. Jeff Snyder found the description negative. I'll play the unedited clip.
It has the tone of the first Captain America and Mummy films. They said Holt was, "Oh, that's bad."
Rocha also said that Nicholas Holt as Lex Luthor is one of the best parts of the movie, which opened up a change for Supergirl, and that the movie was decent even though it wasn't finished, since it only had about a third of the visual effects. He also said that most people will be satisfied with the movie, and it will be well received enough to be able to continue with James Gunn's Detective Comics universe. Doesn't that sound like the most optimistic statement? But here, we can already see how. The podcast presented two contrasting viewpoints from different sources within minutes of each other. The podcast ends with Jeff Snyder noting there's ample time before the film's release. So James Gunn could very well fix several things, and there are plenty of movies whose productions don't go as planned. In fact, he closed with the following phrase: "I'm sure the movie will be fine, although they probably won't invite me after this." A couple of weeks later, Snyder said in his own newsletter that the situation had changed and that now the test reactions to the Superman movie were positive. But then he said something else again on his March 2nd podcast. I mean, this is recent. And it was because of this second podcast that the news became relevant again, here. Snyder said that his most reliable source had written to him to say the following: big news bulletin. But you have one thing wrong, and it's about Superman, because I keep hearing that it's terrible. The gossip gets even juicier because around the same time, another entertainment journalist named John Campea, who was also part of Collider. He has similar sources and connections as the other two podcast hosts. He came out to deny what Jeff Snyder said, since he heard something completely opposite. That the production of Superman had no issues and everyone was very happy with the results. There are several lessons we can learn from this situation. The first is that each of the three insiders involved in this story has close sources who have told them different things about the same movie. John Campea heard it's really good, John Rocha heard it's decent, and Jeff Snyder first heard it was bad, then good, and then bad again. Is anyone correct? We may be overlooking that this news preceded the first teaser, which gave James Gunn 7 months to do massive reshoots or fix things before the premiere, but guess what? That didn't happen. In fact, since the first news emerged, it was not mentioned that the movie was bad, only that there would be reshoots. James Gunn clarified the following on his Threads account. We won't have a few days of additional filming, it'll just be a day and a half of some shots, not scenes, not reshoots, just a few individual shots to improve the film. And so far, has he kept his word on this? There haven't been any reports of massive reshoots or anything to indicate that they're fixing the film. He recently said he will do 1 or 2 extra shots, but that's different from reshooting several scenes. I wonder if the rumors were true and James Gunn knew the movie was bad since December as he didn't do any reshoots. I believe this controversy teaches us a few lessons. The first is that we need to be aware that insider information is not always accurate and doesn't always make it to the final product. Because a lot of things happen between the news and the release, so we should take it for what they themselves say it is, a rumor. In entertainment journalism, news is often reported based on rumors, which can be confusing for readers. Secondly, insider information is frequently shared on Facebook pages. They don't verify the original source to understand the context of the news. I noticed very few pages mentioned that in the same podcast, other sources reported a different experience when watching Superman. Let's avoid discussing the fundamentalist Zack Snyder or James Gunn pages, as they tend to select the worst parts of the available information. It's like each page chooses the information that suits them and only presents that. Another common occurrence is that these pages see the news. Other pages replicate it, and when many pages share the same thing, it gives the impression that it becomes a kind of truth. This is because on social media, clicks and interactions are often achieved by being the first to report a piece of news. And when there's speed, there's little room for accuracy. Finally, there's the issue of reshoots, these re-recordings that are so demonized nowadays. However, as John Campea stated, unlike earlier films, most current franchises already have test screenings, a reshoot schedule, and a budget allocated for them. In other words, it's already expected that movies will have reshoots. In fact, it's rare for one not to have them. Joker and Folie à Deux didn't have test screenings or reshoots. I enjoyed them, but it seems most others did not. Which means that having reshoots or not having them doesn't necessarily mean the movie will be good or bad. In a world where we're so exposed to news, rumors, and leaks, it's more important than ever to develop your own judgment. Is it easy for us to get carried away by sensationalist headlines or by all this information these sites give us? Ultimately, a movie is defined not by pre-release rumors, but by each viewer's experience watching it. So, when the time comes, the real question won't be whether these leaks were true or not, but whether the movie actually made us feel something. Because ultimately, that's what counts. If you're a fan of Superman, don't forget to get tickets for my talk about his history, linked in the video description. Remember, there are 2 available times for the live virtual talk with me. I hope to see you there. That's all for today. I'm Go the Geek Monitor, and keep looking beyond the obvious.